Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're basically putting together a rogues gallery, a lineup of some truly microscopic criminals. They're a diverse bunch, a dangerous family, really, and they're responsible for some of the most infamous diseases you've ever heard of, the Gram-Positive Bacilli.
Okay, this sounds like the start of a bad joke, right? But seriously, a rusty nail, a dodgy takeaway of fried rice, and even bioterrorism, they are all connected by one single powerful and often incredibly dangerous microscopic answer. So let's dig in and see if we can crack this thing. Yep, you probably guessed it. The common thread is gram-positive bacilli. And to really get a handle on their MO, their modus operandi, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the lineup. Then we'll profile the really notorious families, Bacillus and Clostridium. We'll check out a couple of other key threats, and then finally, we'll see how scientists in the lab actually crack the case. All right, first things first. Just like in any police lineup, we've got to separate our suspects. And in the world of bacteria, the very first way we do that is by looking at one key survival tactic, a tactic that really separates the tough guys from the super tough guys. And that tactic? It's all about spore formation. Seriously, you should think of a spore as a bacterium's own personal, indestructible panic room. It's this super tough, dormant state that lets it survive pretty much anything you throw at it. Extreme heat, drying out, disinfectants, you name it. Our biggest suspects, Bacillus and Clostridium, they have the superpower. Others, like Corynebacterium and Listeria, don't. This is a huge first clue for us. Okay, so here's a quick cheat sheet on our four main culprits. You can see right away that Bacillus and Clostridium are our spore formers. But look at Clostridium. It's got another quirk. It's an obligate anaerobe. What does that mean? It means it absolutely hates oxygen. It can only live and grow where there's none. And notice that last column? That's their shared weapon of choice, nasty, powerful exotoxins. All right, let's zoom in on our first family of interest, the genus Bacillus. I like to call these the armored survivors. And in this family, you've got a supervillain known for its bioterrorism potential, and its less famous cousin, who's more likely to just give you a really, really bad case of food poisoning. So this is what cutaneous anthrax, the most common kind, looks like over time. And it's chillingly predictable. You start with this little fluid-filled bump on day 1, but watch what happens. By day 10, it's turned into this classic, black, dead, and get this, painless lesion. That's called an eschar. For a doctor, seeing that progression is a massive red flag. So you're probably wondering, how does it do that? How does it cause all that damage? Well, its secret weapon is this incredibly clever 3-part toxin. It really is like a coordinated heist. First, you have the protective antigen. This is the guy who picks the lock. It binds to the cell and creates an opening. Then, bam, in rushes the edema factor, which is like a flashbang. It causes tons of swelling and chaos. And right behind it is the lethal factor. This is the hitman. It gets inside and just starts killing the cell. It's brutal and it's incredibly effective. Okay, now let's talk about its cousin, Bacillus cereus. You might have heard of this one as the cause of fried rice syndrome. This little guy has 2 different ways to make you miserable. You've got the emetic, or vomiting form. This is caused by a toxin that's heat stable. That means even if you reheat that rice, the toxin is still there, and it hits you fast. Then there's the diarrheal form. This one's caused by heat labile toxin, so heat does destroy it. The bacteria have to actually grow in your gut to make you sick, which is why it takes a lot longer to kick in. So, if you're a scientist in a lab, this is the big question, right? Am I looking at the bioterror agent or just a common food bug? Thankfully, it's pretty easy to tell them apart with 2 key tests. First, you grow them on a plate with blood in it. B. anthracis, the bad one, doesn't do anything to the blood cells. But B. cereus, it totally destroys them, leaving a clear halo around it. And second, you just look at them. B. anthracis just sits there. It's non-motile. B. cereus is zipping all over the place. 2 simple tests, but they make all the difference in the world. Okay, now let's turn our attention to a different kind of villain, a family that thrives in the dark in places where there is absolutely no oxygen. Meet the anaerobic assassins, the deadly genus Clostridium. And here they are, the Clostridium gang's 4 most wanted. What's so fascinating here is how they all use toxins, but in totally different ways. You've got C. tetani and C. botulinum. They both attack the nervous system, but with completely opposite results. One makes you go rigid, the other makes you go limp. Then you've got C. perfringens, the tissue destroyer that causes gas gangrene. And finally, there's C. difficile, the ultimate opportunist that waits for your gut defenses to be down before it strikes. You know, some criminals have a calling card. And for Clostridium tetani, the bug that causes tetanus, this is it. It has this totally unmistakable drumstick appearance. See how the spore forms right at the tip of the rod, making it swell up? Yeah, there's no mistaking that. When a lab tech sees that under the microscope, they know exactly what they found. So its toxin is a neurotoxin. And what it does is terrifyingly simple. It cuts the brakes on your muscles. It blocks the signals that tell your muscles to relax. So they just contract and contract and contract. This is what leads to spastic paralysis. It starts with the infamous lockjaw. Then you get this horrifying grinning expression called rhizus sardonicus from the facial muscle spasming. It can even cause spasms so violent they literally arch the back. And the ultimate danger? The muscles you need to breathe just lock up. Now for Clostridium perfringens, the bad guy behind gas gangrene. It has a really dramatic signature move in the lab. If you put it in milk, it goes absolutely bonkers. It ferments the sugar in the milk so fast and so violently that it produces a ton of acid and gas. The acid makes the milk curdle into a solid clot, and then the gas blows that clot to pieces. It's so chaotic that they call it a Stormy clot formation. You can't make this stuff up. All right, we're rounding out our lineup with two more major threats. Now, these guys don't form those tough spores we talked about, but don't let that fool you. They are just as dangerous, and they have their own special ways of causing trouble. First up is Corynebacterium diphtheria. Its signature move is, well, it's the stuff of nightmares. It creates this thick, gray, leathery patch in the back of your throat. And this isn't just some gunk. It's a pseudomembrane made of dead cells and bacteria, and it's stuck on there tight. It can get so big that it literally blocks your airway, causing you to suffocate. Absolutely terrifying.
And our last suspect is Listeria monocytogenes. This one is a real sneaky operator. You know how you put food in the fridge to keep bacteria from growing? Well, that doesn't stop Listeria. It loves the cold. It's perfectly happy growing on things like deli meats and soft cheeses inside your refrigerator. And in the lab, it's got this weirdly specific way of moving around, a kind of end-over-end motion that they call tumbling motility.
Okay, so we've met the whole gang. They're all dangerous, but they're all different. So how do scientists in a lab nail down exactly which one they're dealing with? Well, it all comes down to some really clever detective work. Lab tests designed to catch these guys red-handed, using their own weapons against them. And here is a perfect example of that. This is the Nagler reaction, a brilliant test to ID C. perfringens. Here's how it works. You take a plate with egg yolk in it, and you spread an antitoxin on just one half of the plate. Then you streak the mystery bacteria all the way across. See that cloudy, opaque zone? That's the toxin breaking down the egg yolk. But notice how it stops dead where the antitoxin is? That proves it. It's not just showing you the bacteria as there. It's proving it's producing the exact toxin that causes gas gangrene. It's so clever. So what do you think? From the armored-up survivor that is anthrax to the anaerobic assassin behind tetanus, each one of these microscopic villains has its own incredibly cunning strategy. It really makes you think, doesn't it? It's a pretty powerful reminder that sometimes the most sophisticated and dangerous enemies out there are the ones that are completely